Welcome back to Swordman Josh Gaming, and today we're going to do something that I don't do very often. We're going to go over a deck tech. This is for an Aristocrats Pauper deck that I built that is a lot of fun to play. I played it over the weekend multiple times and just got done building it a couple days prior to this weekend. And it's actually a great fun deck. It's cheap to build. And a lot of the cards are from Ravnica Allegiance. I had a lot of the cards just laying around, so figured I'd try to build something out of it. So let's go over this deck tech, and first off, we'll go through what protects you or allows you to slowly ping damage through in an aristocratic fashion. And of course, this is white-black. It's off the back of me building a Teysa Karlov commander deck and part of the inspiration of this. But to start things off, to protect you or to make it so that way you can slowly ping through for damage, something you wouldn't normally think, but we're running a playset of Twilight Panthers. So Twilight Panther is a 1/2 body for 1 white, which is great, but after that it's 1 black mana to give it death touch until end of turn. This card's great for both offense and defense because there's always the threat if you leave a black mana untapped and don't do anything until your second main. So this card is amazing for just slowly pinging through 1 damage at a time from turn 2 forward. So we have a full play set of those. Our next card that we are playing is another Death Toucher, but with a twist. This is one that I don't like to play, so we got a full play set of a card called Ruthless Ripper. And this isn't one that I like to pay for that 1 black unless if you're just in dire straits for the 1/1 Death Toucher. It's the morph ability that's really good on this one, since we're playing Aristocrats. So you play it for the typical morph cost of 3 colors, and it creates the 2/2 morph creature. However, all you have to do is you have to display a black card from your hand, and you can turn it face up, and target player loses 2 life. So this card is great for all kinds of things and is a great surprise Death Toucher that most people don't see coming until at least the first time they play the deck, they don't see it coming. After that, they know what it is, and they know that if they come in for an attack, or if you're attacking them, it always has the possibility of going to Death Touch. The next card we're playing is also a Death Touch card, and that's Noxious Grodian. We're taking a full play set of Noxious Grodian. So this is a 2/2 Death Toucher, and I'll get into some combat tricks here in a second. We have 1 set of combat tricks in this deck, but we're always able to trade up and kill something more strong than what we have with these guys. Or if we're attacking with them, most of the time our enemies do not want to block, and they just constantly get through for a damage here and there. Our next card is one of our bears for the deck. So, and you'll see in a second why we're playing this, but Imperious Oligarch, it's a 2/1 with Vigilance and Afterlife 1. These cards are great to just trade off, because if you trade off a creature for one of their creatures, you're still going to get 1 back because of that Afterlife 1. And it comes even better here in a second when we get to some of our other cards. Now, since I just made this out of spare cards I had sitting around, this is one I'd like to play a play set of, or closer to a play set of, and that's Tithe Drinker. It's also a bear. I'd actually probably rather play 3 copies of this, and you'll see what I have in place of it. But this is a 2/1 lifelink with Extort, and that means that when you cast it, if you have a spare mana, then each opponent loses 1 life, and you gain that much life for all of your opponents. The other thing that happens in my meta sometimes is we play small pods instead of always 1-on-1, so this helps with that as well. The other card that I would replace is I'm running 2 Viscopa Vampires. It just happened to be something I could throw in the deck I had sitting around. But it's 2 and an Orzhov mana for a 3/1 lifelinker. This deck does gain Mad Life, so you don't have to worry too much about protecting your own life. You just go in on other people. Now, something that is printed at common that makes this deck churn some is a full playset of Falcon Wrath Noble. So on the surface, Falcon Wrath Noble isn't the best card in the world. It's a 2/2 flyer for 1 black and 3 colorless. However, after we get past that surface and that little bit of evasion, which helps get you in for that damage anyways, it has an ability that whenever Falcon Wrath Noble or another creature dies, target player loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So as we're trading out for our Death Touchers, for our Imperious Oligarchs, and getting our Afterlife characters back and everything, we just slowly ping away for damage. Our next evasion card / get through is we're playing 3 Grasping Thralls. It's a 3/3 flyer for 5, which isn't great, but when it comes into play, it deals 2 damage to each opponent and you gain 2 life. So again, great for a small pod, and just overall great for having the evasion. So now we are sitting at 12 Death Touchers and 7 flyers, but we're not done with the flyers yet. We're running 2 Syndicate Messengers. We can also get 4 flyers out of our Imperious Oligarch with our spirits. So all total, we can run 13 flyers in this deck, plus 2 extras out of our Syndicate Messengers because they have Afterlife as well. So 15 flyers, 12 Death Touchers. It's looking pretty strong. 1 white, 3 colorless, 2/3 flyer with an Afterlife of 1. So we have the Death Touch to come through. We have the evasion to fly over. And we're constantly pinging as our creatures die. Now, I said that this deck gains plenty of life and you don't have to worry about it too much. But sometimes we just have to get rid of something that our opponent's playing. So in true Pauper fashion, we are playing a full playset of Final Payment. So, as an additional cost to cast it, it's 1 white, 1 black. It destroys any creature. You pay 5 life or sacrifice a creature enchantment. So, even if we have to sacrifice a creature because we don't have the life, if we can sacrifice an Imperious Oligarch, we're going to get a creature back anyway. So, it's not that big of a deal. But this is most of our removal package, or it is our removal package for anything that we can't deal with our Death Touchers. And our fun little combat trick, Justicar's Portal, a full playset of Justicar's Portal. Now what this does is with our Death Touchers, if they deal damage first, no matter what they're dealing damage against, then that creature dies before it deals damage to our creatures. So this is a fun little play where you just play it on one of your Death creatures. They phase out and phase back in with first strike, which means anything your opponent throws at you is dead, including tramplers. And then if we get into a game state where everything's just clogged down and we can't get anywhere, we can get somewhere. We are playing a full playset of, and I love this card at the pre-release, and it won me many games, but Ill-Gotten Inheritance. It's just simply at the beginning of each upkeep, it deals 1 damage to our opponent and we gain a life. And for a black and 5, we can sack this enchantment out, and it deals 4 damage to our opponent and we gain 4 life. Now, what does it take to make this deck run, or what did I put in to make this deck run? Well, of course, we have a full playset of Orzhov Guildgate. Helps with our mana base some. Then also I had laying around, I had 2 Scoured Barons, which is just a life gain Orzhov Guildgate. Would have preferred being able to play more, but that's okay. We are running 8 Measly Swamps and 6 Plains. So that's our Aristocrats Pauper deck. We have all the Death Touch to clog things up or get through. We have the evasion with our flyers. We have plenty of life gain. We have our combat tricks. We have our ability, if things do stagnate, for us to go ahead and continue to win the game with the Ill-Gotten Inheritance. Like I said, there are a couple things that could probably make this deck better, but I just built it out of cards I had sitting around. Didn't want to buy anything, didn't want to do anything, so I just quickly made this. It's strong in a 1v1. It's actually a lot faster than I thought it was going to be, but can play the long game as well. And it's also strong in a small Pauper pod if you guys out there play Pauper pods. It's definitely an interesting idea to play a Pauper pod, but being since a lot of these cards will hit all opponents, like the Grasping Thrall, then it allows us to bring everybody down at the same ratio while we're bringing ourselves up, and we're still clogging the board. And even in a Pauper pod, if we throw an Ill-Gotten Inheritance against each one of our opponents, then we're in good shape, and they all slowly lose life. We clog up the board with all of our Death Touchers they can't get through, and we eventually win the game. So we can't run Artesas or any of our fun, rare, or uncommons that would make this deck a whole lot stronger. You're welcome to take the base of this deck and improve upon it. But this deck is just a lot of fun, and I couldn't have been more happy with it. So, Absolute Cactus, who's been a long-time subscriber and member of my channel, he's the one that I played quite a few games against, and he absolutely enjoyed this deck and asked me to do this deck tech. So, for him, I have done this deck tech. I will see about trying to post the deck list below this later and see how I can do that. But for all practical purposes, go out there, have fun. By all means, build this deck and have some fun with it. And until next time, or actually until tomorrow night, when we'll get back to some Dragon Quest and hopefully get the last of our members, I will talk to you all later. I hope you had a great weekend, and I hope you have a great work week. Night all.